Inside my heart, got this everlasting light shining like the sun. It radiates on everyone, and the more that I give, the more I got to give. It's the way that I live, it's what I'm living for. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. We celebrate the beauty that you brought. We celebrate that love is who we are. Goddess of the ocean, daughter of the moon. You're dancing like a butterfly, yes, you sing a happy tune. Your laughter fills the air, sweet music to my ears. And when I look into your eyes, my trouble disappears. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. We celebrate the beauty that you've brought. We celebrate that love is who we are. And as you walk a beauty way, may rainbow colors fill your day. No matter what you do or say, I'll stand beside you all the way. 'Cause your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. We celebrate the beauty that you brought. We celebrate that love is who we are. We celebrate the beauty that you brought. We celebrate that love is who you are. Love is who we are. Love is who we are. Yeah, love is who we are.
Into a law. Ernest Holmes, one of his most famous quotes is, "There's a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it." And I used to think, like, when I thought about this quote, I used to think that, wow, how can we be greater than we are we are it, right? But then I understand now what he meant by that. And he's talking about the power of the law. And Jesus said it when he said, it's not me that doeth the work, but the Father within me. Because so many times we think we're doing the work, we're the ones. We say a prayer, or we do a treatment, and then we try to make it happen ourselves. And that's not the way it works. We have this power that's greater than our finite mind could ever be, that knows how to work the details out for us. And we get to use it. So it's something to remember in when you're doing spiritual mind treatment, that is what you're unleashing, is that power. So I want to talk more about that today, because my topic is called Cleared for Takeoff. And I guess I kind of chose the topic out of the air because Patrick was leaving for the mainland, and I was like, cleared for takeoff, you're going, right? I got the reservation. And then, so I went and looked up what it meant, because I always like to know what things mean. These terms that we use, and I'm not a pilot. Is there any pilots in the room? Oh, thank God, because I hope I got it right. Okay. So it'll be my interpretation what cleared for takeoff means. So apparently the pilot has some checklist that he has, and I went through the checklist too. And he's already completed his checklist, and he's ready for takeoff, and he's given okay by the traffic controller that he's cleared for takeoff. And so there's also another one which I thought was really interesting called cleared for immediate takeoff. And I guess this is like really kind of crazy, because you kind of just like have to be ready. And if you're not ready, you're not supposed to do it really. But I mean, maybe some people do or not. I hope not anybody's flying my plane. But I guess it's when like it's like, if already on the runway, take off without delay, get up and go now. And it says that it could be quite dangerous to rev the engines first before starting the roll in these conditions. So if the pilot needs a full static thrust to take off on the available runway, then he shouldn't accept the clearance. So anyway, there's been many times when I've been cleared for immediate takeoff, and maybe I shouldn't have taken off so quickly because I didn't think first. Anyway, but the point is that every time we give a suggestion that we really believe to our subconscious mind, we're telling the universe that it's cleared for takeoff. So now, I want to reiterate though, because not every thought that you think manifests. As I said to my class the other night, thank God. But it's the thoughts that you really believe, and the thoughts that you repetitively think. And you can do this by just like kind of like at the end of the day, go, what did I really think of today? What was I thinking of the majority of the time? And then you'll see what those repetitive thoughts are. And they're either good thoughts or they're, I don't know, I don't like to say good or bad, they just are. So, but when you think a thought repetitively and it's backed by your belief, you're basically telling the universe, cleared for takeoff. And so the universe takes off. This law that we were talking about before takes off. And it does what we tell it to do, and it will get us to the route, the easiest way it can get us there. Sometimes it doesn't look really pretty. We go, how did that happen? Well, look and think about what you were thinking, or think about what you were praying for, and look what happened, because everything's an answer to our prayer when we're doing spiritual mind treatment. I know that when I do a treatment, that everything that happens after that is basically an answer to that prayer, even if it doesn't look the way you think it should look. If you really, like Patrick's going along through that now, every morning he gets up and he does a treatment, for dealing with the things he has to deal with in the world of conditions with his mother, and he does his treatment for love being present and everything to move smoothly, and then things start to happen, and then he has to sit back, wait, I did my treatment, so this is an answer to my prayer. I think that's really powerful if you can do that, and just really look into yourself and look into the answer that's right there where you are. So sometimes though, like we'll hesitate when we give the universe we say we've decided something, but we're kind of floundering back and forth, and then we're like, we're giving it mixed signals, and I'm calling it like heavy traffic in our brain and saying this. We don't want to have heavy traffic in our brains. So in the aviation world, they have this cleared for takeoff checklist that they have to follow. And there's 18 items on it. I'm not going to go through all 18 of them. I just picked some that I thought were like really applicable to the science of mind. So, okay, so we're ready to make a decision. And first thing we have to do is, the first one is parking brake off. So, the parking brake you can't take off if you've got some kind of parking brake, holding yourself in place. And parking brakes can be anything, like, like, I don't know what I need to do here, or you're looking at the world of facts and you're saying, I don't know if this is possible, or, I just don't know, I don't know. Well, Raymond Charles Barker says, to say that you do not know what to do, or you do not know what you want, is to negate the infinite intelligence which is individualized in you. This is the best part. He says, what you are really saying is that you are too lazy to determine your own experience. He's really harsh. You really want to read a good book, read The Power of Decision. Anyway, yeah, so sometimes we hesitate, so we got to take those parking brakes off and stop resulting in futurizing ourselves and just say it's okay to go, and I'm taking the parking brake off, whatever that decision is. And, and that idea, I said, of trying to figure out how it's going to happen. And given what's in front of us, like we look at the world of facts and we go, well, this could possibly happen. Look what's happened. Look at my checkbook, or look at her body right now, or look at well, you've got to let all that stuff go and go inside to the infinite mind, which takes me to step 2, the doors and windows locked. This is where I say lock out the world of facts. Lock out the world of facts. They have no place in the creative process. The world of facts have no place in the creative process when you're doing spiritual mind treatment. Now, does this mean that we're like ostriches as science of mind people, as religious scientists? Do we put our head in the sand and ignore the facts? No, we don't ignore them. We know they're there. But when we're treating and when we're praying, we turn away from them. And we can't treat if we're still in the facts. We cannot treat if we're still looking at the conditions. So we turn away. So doors and windows locked. And the past. How many times we go back to the past and we say, this is what happened in the past, or therefore this is what's going to happen now? No, that's not true. The past is over. And it can't help the present. The only way the past can help the present is if there's something we learned there that's that can help us. Something we learned that maybe we want to take and say, hey. Now, I don't mean something we learned like, wow, this never works, or, or my mother always does this, or, whatever it is, or I always lose my job, or blah, 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 blah. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. I'm talking about sometimes we do things that maybe weren't in our highest interest, and so we can learn from those things. Ernest Holmes calls them mistakes, not sins. But anyway, so Raymond Charles Barker says we cannot move forward by going backward. So we're these beings that are becoming. We're always becoming the future. We're always becoming the future. We're not looking at the future, but we're becoming. We're in the present moment. We're not looking back, but we can't move this greatness that we are into this place of new ideas and new expressions if we continue to look back at what happened and what could have happened and all that stuff. So doors and windows locked. Okay. Then the final ones are lights, camera, action. Now, I thought this was really, does anybody know this? Did anybody know these things? I was like fascinated, especially coming from an acting background. We always say lights, camera, action. Action to go is theirs. So the lights is the landing taxi lights, right? So for me, the light is my light. It's my authentic self. I have to be my authentic self, whatever that is. Well, it's only one thing. My authentic self is God. My authentic self is powerful. My authentic self is light. So I have to go and remember that about myself before I do anything. And then camera. Now this was really interesting. The camera is actually the transponder. Do you know what that is? That's what they lost on Flight 370 that was turned off. So it's the radio transmitter that works with the ground radar. And I'm looking at that as my communication with my higher self. Am I open? Is it turned on? Because once I know who I am I turned on to receive the information from Spirit? Or am I living in a shutdown mode and I can't hear? So the other night, I've been watching all these movies since Matter's been gone, thanks to Chris Schumacher giving me his flat screen for the summer. Anyway, so I can get my own in the fall. But anyway, so I've been watching these films, and last night I watched Amelia Earhart's, the movie, Amelia Earhart. Have you all seen it? I know You know who she was? She was the woman who made the first transatlantic flight. Well, actually, the first time she made it, I thought it was really interesting. She didn't even fly the plane. She had 2 guys flying the plane, and she was sitting in the back, and I was like, what is that about? And then she finally decided she had to do it by herself, just like me today. She had to do it by herself. So she did it again, and she flew the plane by herself. She flew solo. But in the last scene in the movie, and I don't know, nobody knows really what happened, because apparently, if you know the story, her plane disappeared, and they never found it, right? But the way they show it in the movie is so beautiful, because she is talking, and they can hear her, and they are talking back to her, but she can't hear them. It was such a profound moment for me as I watched the actress, I can't think of her name, Hilary Swank, as I watched her face in this stoic position, talking and not hearing back, thinking there wasn't an answer. And like I said, I don't know if that's really what happened. I mean, I know that they were talking to her and there was no response. But it's the same kind of thing. Like, Spirit is always speaking to us, through us. It's not like a separate entity, but there is a calming voice. I know we've all heard it at times within us, that we don't always hear it because we're not open to hear it. Just like she couldn't hear because she was on a different frequency. So it gave me the idea of just to be in that frequency. What channel are you listening to? Are you listening to the outside world of facts, or are you just waiting and listening for what your higher self is speaking through you? And the other thing that can stop it is if you think you'll know all the answers. Because sometimes you don't know all the answers. Because you're thinking with your finite mind instead of the mind that is your infinite mind, that is one with the infinite mind. So, yeah, camera, transponder on. Okay, so the next one is action. Okay, well, what happens? You've got to take action, right? But first, you've got to know who you are, and you've got all this stuff in place, but you also have to realize that no creative process can begin, as Raymond Charles Barker says, until a decision is made. Amelia Earhart said, the most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. And fears are paper tigers. You can do anything you decide to do. Yes. You can act to change and control. You can act to change and control your life. And the procedure, I love this, the process is its own reward. The procedure and the process is its own reward. So, don't negate the process. I mean, there's no process in healing, in actual healing or instantaneous, but there can be a process of healing. I don't know which one is in or of. What is it, Deborah? In or of? It doesn't matter. The point is that there's no process in healing because we're already perfect and we're revealing it, but there can be a process in healing, which means is the amount of time it takes our minds to register, to hear, to listen, to respond, all of that. It's to embody the truth of whatever it is that we're praying about. So don't negate the process. The process could be a reward. You can learn a lot through the process. I learned a lot through the process of fracturing my wrist. I learned a lot through the process of it. You can learn a lot through every process. Every time a challenge comes up, you can learn a lot through that challenge. So, and Raymond Charles Barker says that when you make a decision, all the right ideas are going to flow into your consciousness. And every idea will reveal itself at the instant you need it. Do you believe that? Have you experienced it? It's true. So, some of you have heard this story, but I can tell you about my Roxanne moment. Roxanne, remember the film Roxanne? Anybody remember it? I had one of those moments. I decided to go out and give my little chickens in the front yard some food. And the night before, Patrick left, and I was I watched a scary movie, so I was kind of nervous. So I did something I never do. I locked, instead of doing spiritual mind treatment, I locked the garage door. Okay, and I said to myself, now tomorrow morning, if you go out this door, just remember it locks behind you, so lock it as soon as you wake up. So the next morning, woke up, opened the garage, went out the door, closed it, went out to do my thing, it's raining, and was very scantily clad, and because I was just thinking I was going to run out and run back in. So, you know how we are in Kauai, we don't like to think about it. So, then I realized I was locked out of the house. Oh my God, I was locked out of the house. And I looked for a moment, it only took me a moment, and I looked and I went, there's no possible way I can get back in this house. And then I went, wait a minute, that is impossible. I am back in this house right now, that's all I said. And then the next thing I did was I just started like out of my own control walking next door and to the people next door at 6:30 in the morning. I knocked on the door, and the guy answered it. It was the dad. The young kid I knew, but I didn't know the dad. I knocked the candle over, and he goes, "Hi." I go, "I'm your neighbor." I said, because I've never met you before. I know. And my husband's out of town. And then I just said, "Do you have a ladder?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "But there's a key hidden here. I know it." I said, "Really?" Because Lolita, he said there was a key hidden. And I was like, I don't like that idea that there's a key hidden. But anyway, so we went looking for the key, but he couldn't find it. I said, "Do you have a ladder?" I said, because you know what? I just realized my balcony is open. So he went and got the ladder. And I said, "I can't climb up the ladder. It's just, I'm not dressed appropriately." So he climbed up the ladder and he let me in. Anyway, so the moral of the story is sometimes you don't even have to do a spiritual mind treatment. You can just decide in that moment that that's not acceptable to you. But the point of the matter is I really knew that there was no way I was going to be standing on my lawn half naked in Princeville with no way to get back to my house. So, and I knew it with a clarity. So it had to unfold for me. And I can say that doesn't always happen for me, even for me, you know, that I'm that clear. But in that moment, I was that clear. I spoke my word, and it was done. So the neighbor had a good time too. All right. So I don't know, maybe he didn't. But so anyway, so my light was on. My camera to my higher self was in communication, obviously, because at first it wasn't, because I was looking for all the ways, can I take this paint off the window? And then all of a sudden, I just let it go, and I just said, there's got to be a way back in. And I locked out all the doubt, all the worry, all the fear, and I took action, which was to just follow my intuition to walk next door, and then realizing all the time, the balcony door was open. All the time, the door to our consciousness is open, just waiting for us to listen and to take to be in touch with our intuition. So how do we take this into a bigger arena is my last question. How do we take this? Okay, a little door is like, you know, that's not that big of a deal. I mean, unless you're me in that moment, but it's not. But there's bigger events in life than that. There's challenges. And you know, I've been reading Viktor Frankl a lot, and he talks a lot about how sometimes we can't change necessarily. We're in the middle of a challenge that's unavoidable, like he was in his experience in Auschwitz. And he said, but what you have to do is change yourself within the experience. And that's the other part of this. Because if you don't change yourself first, nothing's going to change. So what does that look like? It looks like looking at it differently, thinking from a higher place. Marianne Williamson wrote this, and she was talking about the situation in Iraq right now and all that, and you know, just all the situations that we go through in our country and all countries. But she said, from a spiritual perspective, the first thing we all do is to admit that the situation is not solvable by the mortal mind alone. That's what we have to do. It's not solvable by the mortal mind alone. That admission is both death to the ego and birth to the wiser self. It puts us into a different place of consciousness, a more humble attitude that doesn't make us dumber, it makes us smarter. It moves us beyond that small number of brain cells that we're currently using, taking the evolutionary leap that is the challenge of humanity at this moment, to realize that the human species will not survive unless we evolve beyond our material, mechanistic, Newtonian notion of how the universe operates. Our task is to embrace the primacy of consciousness as both the reality and the power that it is. There is more to the mind than the intellect, and the intellect alone can't solve every problem. This is not bad news. It's very good news. So as we're studying in our class, The Power of Decision, we are consciousness. That's truly what we are. And the more we get that we're not, these are skins. I mean, we got them, and we're here with them right now. But what's really behind all that, that's making everything work, is consciousness. And that's what we'll always be. We'll take that consciousness from this plane of action to the next and to the next. But let's use it while we're here. Let's not waste any more time. And let's stop worshiping the past and freaking out about the future and fearing things like Raymond Charles Barker says, we're not birth certificates and death certificates. We're pure consciousness. That's what we are. And when we do that, we decide to be the cause of our own world, knowing that we're one with each other and that we're each individualized. There's nothing that we cannot do. I know that. And I claim it for each and every one of us. So, thank you, and namaste.
My spirit am I am the infinite within my soul. I have no beginning and I have no end. All this I am. Blessed am I, spirit am I am the infinite within my soul. I have no beginning and I have no end. All this I am. Blessed am I, spirit am I am the infinite within my soul. I have no beginning and I have no end. All this I am. Well, I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the brightness of day and the dark shades of night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow so pretty in the sky, and also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I see babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I ever know, and I say to myself, what a wonderful world.
So what I know right here and right now as we close this service is that God has been present here so perfectly, so magnificently, and continues to live and breathe and express through each and every one of us as we go from here. And we take what we have received and we use it in our lives. That's the important part. We use it in our lives and we realize our magnificence, our wholeness, our perfectness, our completeness. I bless this service and give thanks for it and give thanks for this community and all that we are. And I just am so, so grateful. And I just express that gratitude right here and right now with my whole heart. And I just release my word as law, knowing it's done as we say, and so it is.